Welcome to the Thought Brothers. It's November 5th. You know, we've just passed the 1 year anniversary of music master Quincy Jones. And in the Daytona Beach area, at the Museum of Arts and Sciences last Saturday, there was a live musical tribute to the life of Quincy Jones. And I wanted to spend a few moments talking about this music master and businessman. And we have our guest co-host with us, Stan Harrison, who was with us earlier. And we've got the regular fellas in the seat. But I want to start off with CJ and Stan because they were actually in the audience. I was the director and narrator, but they were in the audience, so they had a different perspective. So Stan, I'm going to start off with you. Just what was your initial impressions, just a minute or two of the show, what you thought about the show in terms of its entertainment value for the people in the audience?
Honestly, it was an absolute fantastic show. I brought with me my wife, and my sister actually flew in from North Carolina just for the show, and she was blown away. I asked her opinion. I asked my wife their opinion, and they both said that the attention, they've never been to a show where the actual full show kept their full attention. And there were just some things in the show that were just absolutely stunning. Number one, it was actual musical genius, is what I would say. The musical, the band, the singers, the theatrics, um, top notch. And the fact that we brought in a local high school choir, we displayed some of the individuals, and that was phenomenal. I thought that that was just one of those things that you cannot, there's no substitute for pulling in young talent like that. The show kept you on the edge of your seat. The audience, the energy of the audience was phenomenal. We had this host that was actually very, very good as well. He did a fantastic job getting the audience involved and getting some Q&A going and actually getting some history of Quincy Jones that was really, I mean, it had you researching and doing some research of who these seven people are that received $71 million. Who was his spouse at the time? When was the last time he was married? All these things. So it actually brought in a lot of good things that you would expect from a show of such caliber. The only thing that I wish that we did more of is have more people there in a larger audience.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Stan. CJ, you're a musician. The team was going to do an after action report, but as a musician, in terms of entertainment value, you were in the audience. You had your daughter there, um, your girlfriend. So tell us what you thought.
It was a really good show. Like I said, I enjoyed it. Like I said, my daughter and girlfriend were having a blast. The musicians were all top notch. I love to see top notch musicians get a crack at playing, legendary songs. So that's never a bad combination. Great arrangements. Yeah, not too much to say other than like I said, they did their thing. They did the songs justice. The show, like I said, flowed pretty well. The selection of the songs and things like that. Like I said, I'm not super easy to impress, musically, but there's some top-notch killers up there doing their thing, and that's what I enjoy to see pros locked in doing their thing.
Okay. All right. I'm going to kick it over to two gentlemen who, to get your impressions of just Quincy Jones, the man. So, Carlos, what say you?
Well, wow, Quincy Jones. We're talking about Black history. I mean, you could do a Black history novel, movie, miniseries, um, museum exhibit just on Quincy Jones, seven decades in the music and entertainment industry. I was able to view a recent documentary. I think it said 2024, so it was completed before he passed. Because at the end, it did not have a message that he had passed. So that made me think, wow, this is pretty much up to date. But I think the most important thing I learned about Quincy Jones was, you know, he really, no matter where he went in the world or what he did or what he accomplished, he made references to where it all started in the South Side of Chicago several times. And he made references to the young people and this young people trying to find their way and have a better life. So that really, I think, hits home with me that someone that could be so successful and travel so far away from home and do so many great things, could still think about the place that he lived. And he literally lived in the south side of Chicago while he was, like, I think up until the age of like 7 years old. And then his family moved out west, and Seattle, right? You think about Seattle as being a music town, but more like a hard rock type deal. But I guess there were African Americans there in the 40s, and he found his way. And man, he connected with so many people. So much respect to Quincy Jones on what he accomplished in every era of his life. People will probably remember him most for working with Michael Jackson, the younger folks. But I thought it was pretty impressive that during a time of in the civil rights movement of the 1960s, that, arguably, in addition to Elvis, so I guess Elvis was in the military at the time, but Frank Sinatra was the most popular singer in the world in the early to mid 60s. And he got Quincy Jones to, write and produce for him. That says a lot right there. And actually, I learned that Frank Sinatra, he squashed a lot of racism concerning Sammy Davis Jr. and Quincy Jones. So, a little bit more respect for Frank Sinatra. And I did see also, to end on a note, again, Quincy didn't forget where he came from. He didn't forget that Frank Sinatra really helped introduce him to mainstream America, and whites as well as blacks. And when Frank passed away, he gave him a pinky ring. And Quincy wore that pinky ring until the day he died. So he showed respect for where he was born at in Chicago, and he showed respect and made references several times to people who had helped him become the mega superstar, producer, composer, actor, everything else he became. So much respect to Quincy. So those are my thoughts on that great man. Mr. Spivey, what you got?
Well, I followed Quincy for years and years, and like you said, he had 70 years in the business. The thing that was so amazing was his broad range of producing, arranging, writing, and those things. I remember Quincy back in the day when you were talking about, he was one of these musicians that during the time of the civil rights movement was not afraid to come up with music and collaborate with people who were making music about the civil rights movement. That's one of the things that stand out. One of the most unique things about Quincy during that time, when all of the stuff with the civil rights movement was at the height, Quincy married a young lady who was a member of the Mod Squad on TV by the name of Peggy Lipkin, who was a Caucasian lady. And he weathered that storm. And last but not least, I will always remember that Quincy was part of Michael Jackson's album, The Thriller, which is still to this day the #1 selling album in the history of music. So, he did a lot of things, and I think it was fair that he had a tribute to that CJ and Stan enjoyed. I will ask, who were some of the artists? Were they all local that you had for this thing?
Yeah, they were local musicians, but they were professional musicians. I mean, they those horn players. I mean, all of them. They were, and the choir was the Mainland chorus, Mainland High School chorus, with their high school chorus in this area in Central Florida. And big shout out to Adante Production for putting this show on. And I was proud to be a part of it. The thing that I pointed out to the audience that impressed me the most was Quincy as a businessman. Started Vibe magazine, had his own record label, his own movie production company. And when he passed away, he left each of his 7 children an estimated $71 million each. Now that's generational wealth. That's something to be noted for as a business person as well.
Yeah, I believe his estate was valued at 500 million.
That's it.
And the other thing that a lot of people should always remember Quincy Jones for is not only for Thriller, but Quincy Jones, as I said, during the time that I remember vividly when the civil rights movement was going on and all, even with things today, Quincy put together a group of artists and directed, wrote, the song We Are the World. And that's just another example of how Quincy did not let the times, sway him. A little different than musicians today. A lot of people are worried about clicks and they don't want to get too involved in anything that is controversial. But Quincy Jones never shied away from that type of thing.
As a matter of fact, he's most famous. Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson wrote the song, but Quincy's most famous with all those folks. He put a sign on the door that said, "Check your egos at the door before you come in here."
Yeah.
He was all about the music.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Big shout out to Dante Production, getting a lot of positive play for that, and I'm sure there's going to be more to come as they improve the process, go through some process improvement. But it was a great show. Now, I want to transition. I heard that there was something going on in the news last night in politics. I was out on the bike trails. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but Mr. Spivey, you want to kick us off? Anything going on in the news?
Let me see. Let me think. Oh, I know what happened. I know what I heard.
Okay.
I heard the Republicans got smashed last night. In the words of CJ, they got trashed. It was really amazing night for the Democrats. Zoran, who CJ introduced us to, Zoran Mandami won the governorship in New York, and Abigail Spanberger.
I mean the mayor.
The mayor, and Abigail Spanberger became the governor of Virginia, first woman to be the governor in Virginia, and Mickey Scherer won the governorship in New Jersey. And I've always followed her because she was a fighter pilot. A lot of people may not know in the military. And so, yeah, they really got spanked. And earlier today, I understand that our illustrious president called the Republicans together, and he was telling them that the reason they got spanked was because of the government shutdown, and they need to end the shutdown. It's par for the course for me that this guy, no matter what happens, he never admits or takes responsibility for anything. And one of the things that stood out was I saw one of the reporters and he interviewed one of the people who were waiting in line to vote. And his reasoning was he was voting for a Democrat. He said because the Republicans are trying to blame the Democrats for the shutdown. He said, however, people are starving and people are having trouble paying their bills, their car payments, the daycare for the kids. He said, but the president is putting on a ballroom and is torn the East Wing off the White House. And that was one of the things I brought up the other night when I made the analogy of, people scrambling to pay their tithings in the church and the ministers pulling up in the S550 Mercedes. It's the same analogy. And so Donald Trump does not want to take the blame for what happened. But I think it's in a clear and present danger to the Republicans to get ready, because I think the same thing is going to happen to them later on in the midterms.
Okay. Anybody want to chime in there? CJ?
Mr. Spivey's completely right. It was the Republican agenda is so terrible right now. I think they got lazy. This is how the empire falls in Star Wars. It's like there's a quote where they don't even bother to lie good anymore. They're not even putting any effort into trying to sell the foreign wars. They're just blowing up boats, and they're not putting any effort into trying to pretend that they don't want to take away your health care. Like people understand that the government shutdown is the fault of the Republicans who own the White House, the Senate, the Supreme Court. You can't blame the Democrats when you have control of literally everything. And so people just aren't buying it, like you said. And they got belt to ass last night in every election. Every single county in Virginia went blue. Like they put that belt to the Republicans, and that's what they get for running an insane candidate in Virginia. Like that lady is crazy. And again, people they thought black people were stupid. They thought people would follow for would fall for that. The black faces in high places. Oh, she's black, and I thought Republicans didn't do identity politics, but they tried it, and it blew up in their faces. As for Zoran, one, I would like to say I told you so to many people. Uh, if anybody would like to hire me for their political campaign, if they're tired of losing in the Democratic establishment, I am available. I could use some extra work, but in the meantime, it is a huge race. It's bigger than even what people are making it out to be, and it's been a big national spectacle because this shows that there is hope in the system, that the elites can't control every outcome of every election. This is the first election where the elites of both parties, Zoran had to fight the Democratic Party and the Republican Party at the same time, and still was able to overcome that to against all the big money, against every billionaire. Elon Musk came out against him. Every billionaire was saying against him, and that's great. Now we know who he's fighting for. When all the billionaires are scared and saying don't vote for him, when Cuomo gets a last minute Trump endorsement and things like that, it shows you that Zoran is the real deal, at least right now. Time will tell if he stays true to where he is right now. But as of right now, this is the most popular candidate the Democrats have had since Barack Obama, but he also has the policy substance of a Bernie Sanders. They have a dream candidate in front of them. But as we know, and as I'm going to pull up here, the Democrats have learned all the wrong lessons. Of course, many of them won't even acknowledge Zoran's victory last night. There was what Congresswoman Debbie Dingell yesterday says, I'm going to focus on the election of Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill because they are moderates, so they're not even congratulating Zoran. There was a statement put out by Pete Buttigieg that congratulated every candidate except Zoran, who won last night. So the Democratic establishment is still not embracing him. Chuck Schumer didn't even reveal who he voted for. Chuck Schumer very likely voted for Cuomo because he wouldn't even say that he voted for the Democratic candidate. So, and he said that his want to be a champion for Israel is what stopped him from voting for Mamdani, which has nothing to do with New York City or America for that means. And it shows again why Zoran won, because these politicians are just focused on the wrong things, including the Democrats. I'm throwing the Democrats in there too. This is a big FU to Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, all the people that tried to sink his campaign while he was doing what the party should be doing, which is broadening their tent, getting young voters excited, bringing over those Republicans who are disgruntled. Zoran won the black vote. Every demographic they thought he would struggle with, he overwhelmingly won. So this is the blueprint. This is the future. It shows what what is possible when you have imagination in your politics. Zoran is not cowering to Donald Trump already. He gave him a big middle finger in his speech. He said, we're going to Trump-proof New York, turn the volume up. I'm here. What Democrat do you hear talking to Trump like that? Like, we just had Kamala Harris in the interview with Jon Stewart the other day talking about how we need to lean into incrementalism and things like that. That's why she lost and why Zoran won. Like I said, that shows you there's a big difference. So the Democrats are kicking and screaming to not embrace the huge victory that fell in their lap, but this is going to happen whether they like it or not. This is why they're afraid. The Republicans are afraid. They can't stop this movement of people because, again, the affordability issue is not just a New York issue. That's a United States issue. That's going to resonate from Kansas to Idaho to no matter where you're at. As long as you stay focused on affordability, that's a winning message. And that's the message that the billionaires don't want to be talking about.
Just a quick follow-up to what CJ is saying. Last night, AOC was interviewed, and one of the things that she said during the interview with Rachel was that the old guard needs to understand that there's a new guard in town. And she's basically saying Chuck Schumer and all of those other guys that they need to step back or either get on a train, because you have the Jasmine Crockett's and you got the AOCs and several others. They're just not going to continue to lay down and do the Democratic type thing. And one last thing I will bring up, I got to give a shout out to the governor of California, that Prop 50. And I meant when I said Proposition 51, it won 60-30. And Gavin Newsom was the one that was the architect with Prop 50. So basically what has happened, the Republicans played their game down in Texas in Jasmine Crockett's district, and they picked up 5 seats, and Gavin Newsom pulled the same identical game on them in California, and the Democrats picked up 5 seats. And so that's the kind of stuff that Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and those people, they don't like. And it goes back to what CJ has been saying continuously, is that when you take the same money from the same people that the Republicans take money from, they own both sides of the game. And Zoran is not taking any of that money.
Right. CJ, we'll give you a chance to just say it one more time. I think it was, I told you so. What was that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little tired of being right about everything until, later on.
Oh, everything.
In terms of, I'm just saying, like, politically, like said, it's these wins aren't hard to read. Again, there are people wanting a candidate that speaks like a normal person, that won't implode through a basic interview like Kamala Harris or some of these other Democratic, people, Joe Biden and some of the people. So we have somebody charismatic who can speak and get his points across clearly, who has great policy ideas, that was able to overcome, like I said, not just a smear campaign from Republicans, but no support and active antagonism from his own party that refused to support him. So again, it just shows that these people, the Bernie Sanders wing was not wrong. Again, that's where the enthusiasm was. And again, until the people that lost to Donald Trump are no longer in charge of the party, it's going to spin in circles, and it's just going to be we're going to have to fight against it. They're going to make sure that there aren't any more Zorans, because again, they're taking the same money from the same billionaires who don't like Zoran. So again, that's why Pete Buttigieg is not congratulating him. They're not even mentioning Zoran. They're treating him like Voldemort. Like, they can't even mention his name, even though he's the most popular politician by far, maybe in America right now. So it's ridiculous that the Democratic Party is so addicted to losing that they won't even embrace this easy win. Even if you don't agree with the man's policies, just politically, it's smart to get behind all the enthusiasm that he's gotten with all these different voter demographics. So even if you just care about winning and you're not big on, ideas that help the working class, that's still a winning political ticket. So again, it just shows what you said. As long as they're the Chuck Schumers and Joe Bidens and Kamala Harris are taking all that corporate money, they're not going to be effective. They're just not going to be effective. They're controlled opposition when they're taking as much AIPAC money. And that's why Joe Biden and Kamala Harris can't say anything to stop a obvious genocide that might have cost them the election. Like, little things like that would have made a big difference. And Joe Biden running for re-election, again, patently insane. I don't know why people are and the Democrats are still to this day getting hit for that. Getting questions like, do you think Joe Biden could have been president till the end of this term? That's insane. Like, we couldn't even, he was struggling back in 2020. So again, those are the people that led us to Trump having all of this power. They need to be gone. There needs to be no more Chuck Schumers. There needs to be no more Hakeem Jeffries, who still can't even, again, they can't say Zoran's name. They can't congratulate him at this point. So again, the party needs reform, like AOC said, and they need to actually listen to the young voices that are giving them winning ideas instead of burying them on the bench.
Okay. Carlos, and then we're going to go to Stan the Man. Come on, Carlos.
Hey, simple question. Are you better off today than you were 1 year ago? Well, people were supposedly complaining about the price of eggs and groceries, etc. Recently, I went into I said, I don't want to spend $15 for a sandwich, fries, and drink at a fast food restaurant. That's just insane. So I went into a grocery store and picked up a sandwich, a cup of soup, and a bottled soda, and spent $18. We are not better off today than we were a year ago. So what I'm basically saying is, yes, like CJ's right. It doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise, hopefully, it probably shouldn't surprise anybody. Doesn't even surprise Donald Trump and the Republican Party. They know that their time is running out based on the fact that people just simply want a better life. They want to be able to put food on the table. You got government workers that just simply want to go to work. And for the ones that are going to work, they would like to get paid, and they're still going to work. I mean, everything that they're trying to do only works if they stay in power. If they don't stay in power, it's going to end. So I think yesterday was a really huge day for the country. The country spoke up for all the things that it needed to speak up for. And I think it's going to continue a trend right through 2026. As far as a shout out to all my family up in New York, in New York City, my man, was it Zoran Mamdani, is the man of the hour. Yes, people in New York, man. You know, New York is just wow, what did I say? It's like its own little planet. It's its own little place, the biggest city in the country, obviously. But I think having a mayor that can come down and talk to the people and be natural, like CJ was saying, and not like acting at the podium and saying all these crazy things. Just somebody who can simply talk to the people and find ways for them to have put food on the table, earn an honest living, give them better schools and cleaner streets and some basic things instead of building a massive, expensive ballroom. Again, while people are out here hurting, I think he's going to do a great job in New York. And I think the old guard does have to take notice of a new guard. I mean, I think things naturally change, right? The only thing certain in life is death, taxes, and change. So I think the change part, people are going to have to start to embrace. And if they do that, instead of trying to not recognize it, like some of the Democratic leaders have done, and they recognize the change and embrace the change, I think we're all going to do a better job of coming together. But it looks like yesterday could be the beginning of the end of the Trump regime. Could it be? Because this could snowball. And I'm sure they're pretty worried about that. So that's my take.
Okay. Stan the man,
All
you
right.
are
Well,
up.
gentlemen, you guys have said it all. I agree 100% with each of you. CJ, thank you very much. You took pretty much everything that I had to say, and you laid it out perfectly. Now, a couple things that I will throw out there. Number one, CJ, since you're so good at predicting, Carlos and I want to know, and this could be offline, the next stocks that we're predicting because we want to be in on that. So there you go. I will add a couple things that impressed me last night, and that was this little thing called election integrity. And that's the thing that I kept going back to last night, though I was seeing, um, the wins coming up and getting the notifications. Election integrity, the fact that people still went out and they still cast their votes. I personally went out because we had a local election here in my county. There was some memorandums going on about increasing salaries and trying to gerrymander certain propositions here and there. The reality is the same results were evident here on a local level, though not nationalized, but the same contentment was there. People want results. So even with election integrity, I have to put this out there for any politician or anyone involved. And that is, now that you have the ball, what are you going to do with it? And that's my challenge that I give to any politician, anyone in leadership, anyone in power. Don't just run to get the ball. Now that you have it, take us home. Let's get to the goal line. Let's really change things to the betterment of the people because that's what it's really about. You got into this thing wanting to make a positive change to society. So now that you have it, let's do it. Let's get the people around you that are going to do things that are going to be positive and to set the structure so that we can win this global thing that we have going on right now. So that's my take.
Okay. Any comments to follow up with Stan before I slide transition?
The other thing I will bring up, and it's something that's really important. Donald Trump signed an administrative order today to reduce the flights in 40 markets because of the shutdown. And they have had some really close calls. And I think it was an incident occurred a few days ago where a FedEx jet, the engine fell off and the plane crashed. Hopefully people looking at the show will take note. I'm a pilot. I flew airplanes, and the air traffic controller is the most important person that when you're in an airplane that you will ever depend on. It's not like driving a car where you can pull over and you can pick up the phone and call somebody and get some directions. And with him and the shutdown, the air traffic controllers, they are not doing a protest or anything like that. I think the thing from back in the day, and a lot of you already may remember during Ronald Reagan when the air traffic controllers went on strike and Reagan fired every one of them
Yeah.
and brought in the military. So they're not doing that, but what they're doing is they're doing sick outs. And so by doing sick outs, that means that the air traffic controllers are reduced. And when you get an air traffic controller who is handling 4 or 5 planes in the air, and now he's trying to handle 8 planes, and you got planes descending, it's a very dangerous thing. And if Donald Trump and the Republicans don't get back to work on this, you're going to have a whole lot more incidents of planes running together and putting people's lives in danger. So I just wanted to throw that out there because that's a very serious matter.
I think that's the goal. That's the goal, is to put pressure, put people in danger, because again, this is a heist to take away your health care. The goal that they shut the government down to raise your health care premiums. The Republicans still have no health care plan. Trump was asked on 60 Minutes the other day about him working on this concepts of a health care plan since 2015. He has nothing to replace Obamacare with. So when those subsidies go, some people are already, open enrollment already started. Some people are looking at their premiums go from $700 to $3,000 a month, and things like that. The cost increases are up to 100 and 150% for some people. So most people understand that. So another reason that the Republicans got that belt yesterday, because most people in America understand who's responsible when the Republicans own House, Senate, White House, Supreme Court, media, internet with Elon Musk and all these things. They own every apparatus of power. And as you said before, he blames everything on Biden and the Democrats, who were useless and didn't do anything. So that's even funnier that he's blaming things on Biden, who sat around and did nothing for 4 years, like he did all this transformative stuff. And again, people aren't buying it. They're not buying it, but it's expressly evil what Trump has done. He defied a federal order to pay SNAP benefits for people. He's literally holding people hostage, using hunger as a weapon of negotiation, learning from his boy Netanyahu in Israel. But he's using hunger as a weapon to try to take away people's health care. I don't think people who haven't dived into it really understand how evil it is and why the government is shut down in the first place in order to enrich healthcare insurance companies at the expense of the American people.
Well, CJ, let me just throw in real quick. There was a small plane flying over Palm Beach County earlier today, and the tagline on that small plane said, "Trump is in the Epstein files." So part of the reason for the shutdown, CJ, you're aware that, Mrs. Spivey, you too, you're aware that if we allow Congress to come back, what's going to happen is that there will be a vote. And if that vote occurs, the files will be released. There's a young lady that's waiting to be inducted, and she has been waiting to be inducted for over 6 weeks. And until we have that vote, he is somewhat safe. And we know that across what we call across the pond, there's a certain individual that's been stripped of certain statuses as a result. So, this stuff is not just in our local areas. This is global. And I'll use one of the phrases that a few young brothers use around here: "Stop the cat." And that's the phrase that the young brothers use now to pretty much say, stop lying, because this is obviously, I mean, it's so clear. CJ, you said it very eloquently. This is clear what they're doing. And now that we can see it, and now that we put truth to power, we can make a change. The other thing that I'll throw out there is I absolutely love the fact that this person who claims to be a leader, I call him Mr. Unpresidential, uh, puts out there on Truth Social that, hey, how great was I on 60 Minutes? Yeah, how great were you when you put out there that you don't know who you're pardoning? Now, I mean, if you're going, old school says, if you're going to do something, don't claim that it's rain. tell me exactly what it is, and I'll just leave it at that. Most of us understand what I'm talking about. So that's my two cents on that.
That goes back to my point that they're not even one of the reasons they're struggling is because they got too complacent with their power and they didn't even bother to even try to make good lies anymore. Like I said, Mike Johnson has been getting dragged all week because there's a compilation of him saying, I don't know, to the most obvious news stories ever. So it's like, you're Speaker of the House. Do you have a TV? You got internet? Because every time they're questioned about Donald Trump doing something terrible, it's like, oh, I didn't hear about that. Oh, I don't know. I didn't hear about that. And that was Trump in that interview. And the interview for one of the few times that interview did a great job following up. It's like, this guy is directly tied to your family's crypto business. This man has directly enriched you. He has directly done this. And Trump is just like, I don't know. I'm just going to pretend I don't know the guy. I'm just going to, he's not even pretending to come up with a good lie. So again, people are seeing through it because they've just gotten lazy. They just thought they had the whole game wrapped up. And it's like, oh, we're just going to tell these peasants whatever, let them eat cake. I'm going to build my ballroom and have a great Gatsby party while we take away the food stamps and all that. And people, like Carlos was saying, they can feel that they aren't better off during this presidency than they were under Biden, that it's actually worse. Prices are higher. The tariffs have caused chaos and higher prices and things like that. A lot of his policies, we have ICE abducting people in the streets. So like nobody is getting anything they voted for unless that's what you voted for. I guess some people are if you just voted for racism and tax breaks for billionaires. But for anyone who didn't vote for that, they're feeling that they got duped.
I was in the store today, and it was owned by a Latino family. And the owner and his son spent about 20 minutes telling me how their community regrets voting for Donald Trump. He said they fell for the okie doke. He says, and now they see that people can't pay their bills. They can't pay for childcare. He said, and the people like them who do all the work, he says, it's just cruel. And now it's starting to hit them that they're starting to regret that vote. And it was just 20 minutes. I had to let the guy, he and his father, just talk, almost like therapy, to get it out because I was the only one in the store, and it was just quiet for them to say. And they just said it was how sad they are and how they regret their community, because he said they bought all of it during the election that Trump was going to make things better for them, not knowing that some of their friends and relatives outside of Home Depot being snatched and grabbed. And, we've all seen it, the whole thing. It's just terrible.
It's hard to have sympathy for that when he called Mexicans rapists and killers on day one and things like that. Like, I mean, that's, like the leopard
I didn't
my
want to
face
say that,
party.
CJ.
Oh no, I told him. I said, what did you think was going to happen?
Yeah.
I said, he's a convicted criminal and an adjudicated rapist. This is what they do.
And to be fair,
they pardon people.
Yeah, he did campaign on mass deportations. Like
he sure did.
Yeah.
So what did you voted for him because you didn't believe it? I don't understand this.
I mentioned that to him.
I don't have a lot of sympathy for him.
Yeah, I mentioned that to him, and he looked at me and says, "I know, but we thought he was going to take the bad ones." I said, he doesn't care. If he looks like you're all bad. So,
well, that goes back to them not wanting to recognize and people not wanting to call him what he is. He's a racist.
Oh, yeah.
And you will not hear one person on Capitol Hill in the Senate or the Congress. You can't put a mic in one of them's face and say, do you think the president is a racist? And get an answer for him. Because if they do, they know their political career is over. But one thing I will say, and I hope this sends a message to people like Chuck Schumer and these other old Democrats, what AOC said was, it's time for the old guard to go. I hope this sends a message with the elections and the results last night to them when their time comes up for election.
Okay. Final thoughts. We're going to go to Stan, Carlos, Mr. Spivey, and CJ. Anything. Final thoughts. Go ahead, Stan.
Well, I want to go back to Quincy because I thought that this was just a highlight in this community. The show was fantastic. And I have a question for the brothers on the show, and that is, when I finally heard about Quincy, it was just like music. I really didn't get involved. It shocked me in the show, the song "It's My Party and I Cry If I Want to," having no idea that Quincy had so much influence in the entertainment industry for such a long period of time. And as a brother, you wonder, how was he able to maneuver through all those years? How was he able to avoid the pitfalls and the traps? And I call them the landmines. So if anybody can speak on that, I was most impressed. In being in the show, I was immersed with not only the history, the music, the arts, the entertainment, but I was really my biggest question that evening as I was leaving was, how was he able to manage and get through all this?
That was 16-year-old at the time, Leslie Gore. It's My Party.
Mm-hmm.
Quincy had made her a pop star, and he was also, I think, the first record executive at Mercury Records, and he worked with her. But yeah, a lot of people didn't know that, along with The Heat of the Night and some other things. So yeah, he's done a lot, no question.
One of the things with Quincy, I think that helped him to answer Stan's question was Quincy crossed over to the other side. He worked with people like Frank Sinatra. During that time, when you work with somebody like Frank Sinatra was big. I mean, he was big in the movie industry. I remember him in movies, and he was big in the musical industry. And so when you work with somebody like Frank Sinatra, and then if you remember back in the day, there was a group called the Rat Pack, and it was Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, Jerry Lewis, and Sammy Davis Jr. So then when you work with those kind of people, other people who want to become famous, they don't see you as being black. They see you as being brilliant and someone that can take my career to the next level. So that was one of the things I think was very helpful with him crossing over. I think that helped him a lot.
Hey, I got a take on that. I'll just say, to echo off what Mr. Spivey said, to answer Stan's question, bottom line is Quincy was so talented. He helped a lot of people make a lot of money. Once you start helping people make a lot of money, the only color more powerful than white or black is green. And when the word got out, this guy is just killing it. He can help me put more money in my pocket. They found a place for him. And I do, again, based off the special I saw, have a new respect for Frank Sinatra for actually standing up for black people in the entertainment industry, such as Quincy Jones and Sammy Davis Jr. But I think that's the bottom line. He was just that good. And to be that good during the civil rights movement era, come on, man. He was that. And then it only showed that as we progressed into the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and you get to 7 decades, you not only conquer the civil rights movement era, but you conquer 7 decades. You have to be just that good. And again, he helped people make a lot of money, and I think that's how he tore down a lot of barriers and walls and had people want to work with him and search and seek him out.
Okay. CJ.
I agree with what was just said. Like I said, there's a combination of musical genius and commercial success, and like I said, that'll take you a long way, despite the times and and it is great to have the allies of those great white musicians that were allies coming up, like the Sinatras and Bob Dylans, who would prominently speak up for other black artists and things like that at the time too. So that also does help. But at the same time, Quincy Jones is maybe the most prolific musical mind that we've had in, for such a stretch. So, I mean, I don't think there's much to add there.
I mean, you think about Back on the Block, the dude who can bring Sarah Vaughan, Dizzy Gillespie, Barry White, Big Daddy Kane, Chaka
Count
Khan,
Basie.
Valerie Simpson.
Count
All those
Basie,
people,
Duke Ellington.
all those people together on an album. Come on. All right, folks. We got a lot to think about. We talked a lot. Stan, thank you very much for joining us. We're definitely going to have you back. You're always welcome. I'm Gary Johnson for the Thought Brothers, and until next time, we are out of here. Hang on there,
Take
fellas.
care.
Good night.